Oh, here's them details worked out.
Right. So let's already cut out. Let me get this out of the way.
Got a good view of Tim. Yep, there he is.
Nice stuff. And
I got a good view of these. I think I do. Yeah.
I'm gonna just do this to know where I cut it off, you know.
Okay, we're back. We have Tim here, and what we're going to put on him today is a thin skin. We're going to do an application of a hair system, and also we're going to be cutting it in. The thin skin that he's wearing is a 4 mil system. It's 0.04 of a millimeter thick. Here's some examples that I showed Tim. This is a number 5 solid, 520, and then this is a 540, 40% gray. I know it looks like a lot of hair, but this is my recommendation to Tim, largely because it gives it a little bit of depth, and almost looks like when it's cut in more like a highlight. Like this is a 640 that I'm wearing. You can see that it doesn't look very gray, but it gives it a lot more structure and makes it look a little bit more irregular. Just something you want to avoid with the hair system. So I'm going to go get Tim's system. It's already had medical adhesive applied to it, and also we put a couple coats of medical adhesive on Tim here. Looks real good. So we're going to work out any air or bubbles that are captured in the glue. And then we'll focus on these edges. Once the system is on, Tim will be able to wear the system for a month, where he'll come in, have the system removed, cleaned, and then reapply. Some of my clients can go months without taking the system off, but it's always nice to have it taken off and cleaned, just to ensure that there's no buildup of bacteria or anything of that nature. But the glue is antifungal, antibacterial, and because the system's completely encased, there's no mesh or mono or lace. No air really gets to the system, so there's no buildup of bacteria or anything like that. All right, Tim, let's get you started. So for the cut-in, Tim wants about 3.5 inches in the front, and then the back, he wants to keep it short to blend with his current haircut. So I always start off by focusing on the interface between the system and the client's hair, and also to hit the front first inch of hair. Once that's put together, I can go ahead and bring this hair down to match those guidelines that I created. Go ahead and turn towards me, Tim. There you go. So in the front, I'll usually use a taper shear or a thinning shear to give some irregularity to the front hairline. Bring your head forward. There you go. So I usually start at a little bit longer because, as you know, you can go forward, you can't go backwards. So we'll start about 3.5 to 4 inches, and then we'll kind of back it off from there to get where we need to be. And I'll hit all these little stragglers with the razor. Around the back, I usually will use a razor because it creates kind of a longer lead-in to the other hairs. You know, real irregular cut. So you can see I'm just pulling it away I'm not cutting straight through. I'm just letting some of the hairs get cut and some of them will be a little bit more elongated. Using scissors, straight scissor cut, even a point cut, it would really make a bad transition from the system to his hair. You want to use something that leads from the hair system and into his hair. As you can see, some of these hairs are a little bit longer than the others, which gets you a good start as far as removing that hair system look. You don't want to look like he's wearing some sort of a wig, of course. I might fast forward some of this too. Yeah? Can put it on double speed. So get her here. There goes that. Cutting that out. My guard came off. Got glue on my fingers. I got hair stuck all over them. Jeez. We're going to go ahead and put one layer in this first section of hair. Usually use some sort of a point cut. We don't want too many broad strokes on the scissors because it creates lines that make the system look a little unnatural. the hair will start to feather in, but there's still some other steps that we'll take to give it a more natural look. But I'm just going to do a little check to see how the hair looks on both sides and show that it's symmetrical, and just kind of see how the hair lays. Look for heavy areas. It's a good starting point, I think. So moving on to the top, I would recommend point cutting at a minimum, and then the thickness of the hair and how it lays on the head will just depend on how much you layer it, you know. So I usually section off right at the crown. And he's going to do 2.5 inches in back. So I'm going to start at about 2.5, and then I'm going to fold forward into that 3.5 that he has in the front. And with that first cut, which is 2.5 inches, use that and go forward. Use that as my guide, so to speak. Now I like a haircut to look heavy in the front, so I go a little bit heavier and heavier as I go forward, and that can always be brought down after the first styling before the client leaves. I'm just going to have a guide that I cut in with the razor, and I have a guide at the top. So I'm just bringing those two together. So that's the general haircut. Now for anybody over 35, 40 years old, I'll take a little bit of this bulk out. You can see it's a little heavy. This is medium light hair. These hair systems have about 50 grams of hair. But I'm going to leave this bottom layer. It might be a little long for Tim up front, but I'm going to leave the bottom layer. And I'm going to use the taper shears to just take off and create more of a natural fall. That is, you know, with a man's haircut, you want it to be square. And now these systems are kind of heavy with hair, and then it takes away from some of that squareness. Right about here. I think that's a good first stab at it. So now I'm going to go ahead and get it wet and comb it around a little bit and see if I find anything irregular. First, let me get the glue off. I got some dots on the front that I used to locate the system. Check out that hairline. I mean, it's completely natural looking. Looks like the hair's growing right out of his head. Just bring that up a little bit. I mean, that's what you want in the hair system there. This is, once again, a 4mm system with looped. They're looped. They're not V-loops. They're not knots. The knots might leave a little bit of a dot or something in the front. We're probably going to take this a little lower. I'm just going to pause for a second and grab that. Check that shit out, man.
Nice.
Yeah, quite a bit better. Wow. It's pretty long. We'll just see. You know, I'm just gonna finish the video and then we'll tighten it up. You know what I mean?
Right.
So let's get her wet. see right through it, right to your scalp. Some spots, you know.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that. Usually I'll get it really wet, and then I'll dry it with a towel a little bit. It helps it to stand up a little bit, and it gives it a little bit of, it's hard to explain it. It takes some of the, see how it wants to break apart? And if you use a towel to get the water out, plus you want to get the water all the way down to the base because the hair needs, water kind of regenerates it as far as getting it to style in a particular way. There's a cortex in your hair that allows nutrients to go to the ends. That cortex is dead in this hair. Obviously, it's hollow. So when you get it wet, it really does cause it to reset so that you can style it a little bit better. What you already know, Jim. Right? But then I noticed if I wanted to stand up a little in the front rather than just laying flat, using a towel to just mat it around, that's what's happening. You're getting a little bit of matting. It'll help it to stand up in the front a little bit so that you can style it one way or another. And I use this stuff, Miracle Creator. It's just a leave-in conditioner. I wouldn't recommend using conditioner in the shower. Just use like a clarifying shampoo because the conditioner can get into the V-loops or the knots and loosen things up in the shower. Put something on after you take a shower, like a leave-in conditioner of some sort. There's a couple ways you can wear this particular haircut. You can bring it off forward. It's a little long on the sides for that probably. Typically I'll bring it forward so that I can bring it back and it allows it to stand up a little bit better. If you wanted, I like mostly messy cuts myself. And then a lot of times I'll just drop a little part in the side. It's messy, but it's messy with the part. It kind of makes it look a little bit less accidental, a little classier maybe. And I'm not sure how you want to style this in particular, but and then blow drying it too can be pretty rough on the system, so you want to avoid that for sure. But and with these systems, you don't have to be afraid of that hairline. You don't have to hide it. You can pretty much bring your hair back and let it fall in position because it's pretty natural. So at this point, we still got some work to do. We might lean it up a little bit. You know, Tim wanted it a little shorter, I believe. So after making some adjustments, this is the final product. How's that for a before and after? I mean, that's 15, 20 years for sure, I would say, off this age. What do you think, Tim?
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah, very cool.
Thank you very much.
And my pleasure. Thank you, everybody.